Hey folks, welcome back. Alright, so we got a Jeep Grand Cherokee Limited. This one made in 2000. Our problem is we got a leaking heater core, and we got a recirculation actuator that won't work, and we also have a I got heat on the right side, but no heat on the left side. So that's what this video is about these actuators, and the best one to show it on is the one that's right here behind the glove box. I'll get a better light picture of it here later on in the video. Basically what it is you can turn this dial up and down, and your right side will go hot and cold as it's supposed to. This side you can turn up and down. It will indicate on here that you're changing the temperature, but nothing happens. It stays cold, and that's for the full left half. So like this is cold, and these vents are cold, and the floor is cold. But on this side it works. It's kind of a dumb design. I think it's stupid. Dual driver controls. I mean, you're in the same vehicle, so I don't know. But anyways, that's how it is. So if you have any issues like that, or if you have any issues with any of these not changing, most of these actuators, they might have a little bit different configuration and a different plug, but they pretty much generally operate pretty much the same. And with this system being like an automatic climate control or temperature control or temperature zone or something like that that Jeep has, it's all fully electronic. So alright, so where you want to start when you've got that type of a any issue that you don't have a function on here, as we talked about a second ago, is go ahead and turn it on. Have your HVAC system on in some way, and what you want to do, alright, quit beeping, is you're going to end up trying to retrieve some codes out of here. You can use a scan tool, I believe, with this too. I did connect to it, but I totally forgot to even just look at the codes because, well, I'd already done this. It was easier. So what you're going to do is you're going to press down on both of these together, and then you're going to click this thing one turn. And I'm going to see if I can do it one-handed. Nope, didn't get it that time. There we go. Okay, so we've got a code 52 for the recirculation door, and I'll go through that in just a second. But what we also had was a code 54, and so what it would do is it would cycle 54, 52, 54, 52. And let's go talk about those codes. Oh, and to get back out of this, you can either shut the key off or push and hold these down, and that gets you back into this. So shut that off. Okay, so it was quick and easy just to Google this, and I came up with this site. I don't know what site it is. That one right there. Just to get an idea of what that is. And as you can see, code 52 is air recirculation door travel range too large. 54 is left temperature door travel too large. So, like I said, I just Googled this. I'm sure somebody eventually in the comments will be like, hey, can you email me that? Dude, just search it out. Okay, so what does that actually mean? That particular fault, range too large, and why doesn't it work? Okay, we'll talk about that and just as we get over there. But here is, this was the old actuator. As you can see, the one in there is a little bit different of a design. I got this from Napa. The part number on here crossed over to this. Little different design, but it fit in there just perfectly. And as you can see, this is the back side of it. So on the other side of it, this deal right here is going to have the deal that it's shaped exactly like this, and it fits, you know, in there, and then this just turns back and forth. And so you can actually visually see this thing turn with this ring right here, but it really basically just kind of turns a quarter turn, you know, like here's a notch right here, and it's going to turn, it's going to go about in that direction right there. Or it could be this, just, I can't remember for sure. Why would it signal that it has a range too large? Well, as you notice this, see this crack right here? What is that? What that can do is when this thing goes into a calibration mode, which it'll do, I think about every so many key cycles. I don't know what the number is. I want to think it's 20, but I'm not totally sure. Or if you have the batteries disconnected for a period of time, and you put hook the batteries back up, or you have some fuses pulled out, any types of, you know, scenarios, or if you actually reset this module with the scan tool, this system here is going to go through a calibration for every controller that's in here. And what that means is it's going to turn it in one direction until it stops. And then it's gonna, once it can't move it anymore, then it's gonna turn and it's gonna go to the next direction until it stops. Then it learns that position back and forth, back and forth. And so that's how it learns, because every one of these actuators, you know, by physical design, it's designed to fit there, but it could also be used for another type of a actuation. And so they're pretty much, you know, manufactured all the same. I mean, you can see there's only 2 wires on here, so how could you, you know, could you really teach this thing anything? Well, you're not really teaching this thing anything. It's this right here that needs to learn with this. So with this crack in here right there, what that did is when this thing went into a calibration mode, it was traveling until it was supposed to stop. And because of this crack, this was able to turn on the outside of this and just keep going. And it kept going. Pretty soon, you know, this thing knows kind of what it wants, and it's saying, hey, that travels, you know, too large, there's something wrong with it. Boom, it locks it out. And then by the default position of, you know, the blend door itself, mostly always tends to fall on, you know, the cold side, which I think is kind of dumb. They should have designed it in such to where, you know, if you remove this or whatever, it should be always able to fall in the always hot, you know. But anyways, that's not how it goes. And so that's, you know, the reason why this thing goes with what it is. And once it's done that and it's locked it out and it's put it into a fault code, it doesn't do anything. When you try to adjust the dial or anything, it won't move at all. And so by first appearance, when you're troubleshooting these things, you know, you're either going to think you've got a bad actuator, and then what possibly after that you put a new actuator in it. Say all you do is, okay, if this thing is locked out and goes into a fault, and you go to unplug this, remove these 2 screws, and then just stick a new one on here and plug this thing back in, go over here and try to see if it works. Like, boom, it's not going to work. And then that's probably going to lead you to thinking, oh, well, shit, this thing's got to be bad. No, the first thing you got to do is you got to get this thing calibrated. And if you don't have a scan tool, you know, to reset this controller, you know, then unhooking the batteries or finding the fuse or something, one of those 2 things, you know, will work to calibrate it. And then once that happens, you know, as soon as you hook the batteries back up, you turn the ignition on. You know, to turn this on, it's going to go through this calibrating, you know, and I think it might do it I think the system's got to be on. I'm pretty sure it does. You'll watch this thing move, and once you see this thing moves, well, then you know the wiring's good, and you want to make sure that it moves in a certain direction, and then it stops, and then it goes back, and then it stops, and then after that it should work. You should be able to go back and forth and how everything's working. So that's what I basically wanted to cover in this video, was that type deal about how that goes. Like our problem here is the recirculation door is in there, and right there where that hanger deal on my light is pointing, you can see the actuator. You can see the white part, and that's the door. And so basically that door kind of flips up in this direction. It's kind of hard to decide, but in order to replace that, you can see the actuator right there. See the clip of it. But that's it. And that, we had to pull the dash out to be able to get that one fixed. But the heater core's leaking on this thing anyway, so it's got to pull the dash out. So, and I have no idea what any of this type of stuff is. I didn't do it, and I'm just gonna leave it alone. Okay, so we got this system on, and right now it's in the hot position, and I'm going to turn the dial down right here to I just turned it all the way down to where it says low, and as you can see, it's moving in a clockwise position, and I can hear the blend door moving. See that, that notch, which is right there now. It's kind of hard to see with the light. I'm trying to get the glare off, but now so now we're turning it up. Turn it up to high, and you can see it's moving back. So I can tell it. Now, one other problem that you might have is, you take this blend door motor off and, grab the little deal that it pulls like that. What might be going on is you might have the blend door actually like broken inside of here, and if that thing just spins all around, because of something broken, inside, you're going to get the same problem. So that's what, the first thing you got to do when you have that problem is remove this and inspect it, look at it, see on the inside, what it looks like, and then take and with this thing off, just spin that thing back and forth, and you should, like what I did is I removed this, and I was able to move, and I can feel the thing go clunk, 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 and it stopped in both directions. And I also noticed that when I put it in one position, I had heat coming out of these vents over here, and then when I moved it to the other position, which it pretty much didn't want to stay in that position, it wanted to fall back down to the cold position, but yeah, then I had cold air coming out of those vents. So I knew that all that stuff was working, that I needed, and then I replaced this, and once the calibration was done and stuff like that. But the reason that and one other thing I wanted to point out, it's they tried working on this thing themselves, and what they did is they bought, this one looks pretty similar to this. You can see there's no part numbers or anything like that. They just bought it all online, and the problem is this thing was just made too big or whatever, and this still ends up slipping over the top of that, and then the controller locks it out and it doesn't work. And so that's how I got it, was because they said this we put a new actuator in it and it won't work, and either it didn't calibrate itself and it didn't do anything, or or it moved and it slipped. But that's the problem I found, is even though this was new, it was wanting to slip, and so that's why I'm not a huge fan of cheaper aftermarket parts and stuff. So but as you can see, it's a different design than the original one that was in there, but that's just kind of how they make them now. So anyways, for this blend door, you know, this is the part number from Napa, and you know, this one seems like a pretty decent made part. I don't know where they're getting it from, but so that's about all I can think of for that. You know, there's other videos, you know, showing you with these off, and you know, even how to replace blend doors and stuff with cutting this steel off of here. You know, I couldn't do that because I'm a shop. I work on other people's vehicles and stuff, so I wouldn't do that. But you know, if it's your own vehicle, that's your own thing. But it'll, you know, can show you more about taking this off. I just wanted to mostly discuss this thing about the calibration mode and what this thing does, and you know, why, even though you might replace this and it still doesn't work, there's some ideas to check and figure out why just putting a new one of these on may not work right off the bat. You just need to get it to go into its calibration mode, and then once it passes that, then it'll work. So anyways, thanks for watching.